Then, when they got sent, we thought we had done our good deed. Well, about 6 months later, friends of ours were at one of the youth shelters here in town, and the semi from Al Roker and the Today Show doing a semi drop-off of donated items was there, and they were helping unload. And they unloaded the boxes that we had sent. So they had come full circle from Arkansas back to Des Moines, and we just thought, oh my gosh, we've done nothing. We can do better than this.
Welcome to the Give and Grow DSM podcast, the show where we share compelling stories of the nonprofits shaping Iowa's future. Host Siobhan Spain dedicates 3 episodes to each organization, offering listeners unique perspectives through interviews with the nonprofit's leader, an active donor, and a beneficiary of its programming. Give and Grow DSM is a philanthropic initiative founded by Andy and Sarah Suzanne and the RIA Group, dedicated to serving the organizations and individuals in our community who need it most. Learn more and listen in at giveandgrowdsm.com. Today we begin a 3-episode series featuring the nonprofit 6 Degrees of Separation. The organization's name is meaningful in how its mission came to be. If listeners don't know, 6 Degrees of Separation is an idea that everyone living on Earth is connected through a chain of 6 acquaintances. It implies that it is a small world where our connections to one another is far closer than we may assume. So 6 Degrees co-founder Jane Hemminger is here with me today. Jane is active in our community as a volunteer, and she's also a dietitian. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you.
So 6 Degrees of Separation was created from the devastating earthquake in Haiti in 2010.
Right.
And you and 5 other women decided to find a way to help. Tell us about how you initially tried to help and then how you pivoted after experiencing that attempt being very ineffective. I think that's such an interesting story to share.
Sure. When we first started, we thought that we would go through an organization that did packaging and things like that for us. And so we got a whole bunch of people together and did packaging of hygiene supplies, that type of thing, and sent those down to Arkansas, and then they were to be transported to Haiti. In ours, it was a formulated list of things they wanted, but in ours we added a note written in Creole that said, "We are thinking of you." Then, when they got sent, we thought we had done our good deed. Well, about 6 months later, friends of ours were at one of the youth shelters here in town, and the semi from Al Roker and the Today Show doing a semi drop-off of donated items was there, and they were helping unload. And they unloaded the boxes that we had sent. So they had come full circle from Arkansas back to Des Moines, and we just thought, oh my gosh, we've done nothing. We can do better than this. So we reached out to friends that we knew, colleagues of friends here in Des Moines that worked at Principal who were Haitian, and they were the ones who sat down with us and said, here's how you can best help. One, they suggested that Port-au-Prince sees all the efforts, and their small community, a few hours outside of Port-au-Prince, never sees any of the donations and that kind of thing. So we could do small charity to small community, and that's how it got started.
But the fact that it kind of made you even more engaged,
right,
is really fascinating to me, in that you got that guidance from somebody that's from there and has that perspective.
Right. And we really did want to double down. We were like, no, we can do this ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we connected with our friends, the Vilmael family, then we knew we had a good, strong connection. And that was one of the most important things, I think, in working internationally, is to have a connection to the community. We were outsiders coming in, and I think pretty skeptical.
Sure.
And so having people from their own community come back and say, these people are here to help, that got us a lot of buy-in.
Great. Well, we're going to talk to Osnell, I think, in one of the next episodes. Tell me about how they came to be in Des Moines, the family.
Their father was one of the original boat people, and he came over prior to the rest of the family and settled in South Florida.
Now, back up a little bit, because
Sure.
listeners might not know what that means, the original boat people.
Okay, there were several boat people, they call them boat people, where people tried to come to America traveling they would just board boats and try to get to, from Haiti to South Florida.
Got it.
And once they got here, their father did a lot of landscaping work, that kind of thing, raised money, saved money to bring the rest of the family. So Osnell, his older brother Jonelle, and sister Marlene, and their mother all came over when they were in middle school.
Okay.
And so the three kids were educated for a good part of their younger years in the U.S. And then all three went on to college. Jonelle got a football scholarship to play at Dubuque.
Oh, okay.
And so he was the one who came to Iowa first, and then after graduation got a job at Principal, and he said to his brother and sister, you need to come and look at Principal. They are very open and welcoming to hiring people of a diverse background. And so at one point, all three of them were here in Des Moines.
Nice.
Jonelle has since moved to Houston.
Okay.
But so that's how part of the board, part of the women who organized this met. They were workmates at Principal.
Great. So it's one of many very positive immigrant stories of the U.S., right? I'm so glad to hear that story and know that you connected with them in such a meaningful way. So they're from La Biche.
Right.
And do they go back and visit?
Yes, and up until recently, with the turmoil since 3 years ago, there was an uprising. I don't know if anybody remembers that, where the president was murdered.
That was so intense.
So intense, and it continues to be chaos.
Okay.
And so if you look at the U.S. travel website, that travel is not recommended, and so they haven't gone back. Prior to that, we were going a couple times a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
6 Degrees works to build a successful and sustainable school system in La Biche. Is this the mission statement of 6 Degrees? And why did you include the word sustainable, and how do you make that happen?
It is the mission statement. What we decided to do was, when you look at areas in need, education is the biggest thing. Yeah. If you want people to be independent and get themselves out of poverty, education is really the long-term maximum benefit.
Right.
And so we thought we could just hand them some money for the moment and that would be gone, or we could support a longer term mission. And so that's what we started with. We started with this school that had 3 grades. And each year, after we started, we added a grade up until 6th grade. At 6th grade, much like here, the kids get teachers designated for subjects, a math teacher, a social studies teacher. And we couldn't support that financially. So what we do is support their education going forward from a financial standpoint. We help them with tuition to go on from 7th grade on through high school. And so it's just a longer term goal. And we, in fact, this past year, just had our first graduates of high school. And so the sustainability part of that comes in with, in lots of ways. One, we want the school to hopefully eventually sustain itself. You know,
Right.
that they
Okay.
get to a point where give back from the community or other people, or they are able to raise more money, better jobs, so that they can support it themselves.
Yeah.
Another way that we want it to be sustainable is we serve the kids lunch, and we would like to produce our own food. Whether that, now that we have our own land, we would like to look at either chicken farming or growing some kind of grain or just some other things to say, you know what, we're doing this for ourselves, which in turn teaches the kids.
Yeah.
And then, you know, sustainability from the fact that we want to sustain these kids through what they hope to become.
Yeah.
And so, like with our first graduates, we have, and proudly, the first 5 graduates were all girls. I'm so happy about that. But the 2 are going to nursing school, and 1 would like to be a teacher. And so we are supporting them in that effort. And when I say support, it's not here's all the money you need to move forward. We have always encouraged buy-in from the kids, the parents, the community. The kids have to give back. We do a little bit of a point system where the older kids have to help tutor the younger kids. They have to go to their own tutoring sessions, and they have to pass classes and volunteer in the community. Parents have to volunteer to help with serving meals to the kids. And then we try to get the community to be supportive of the whole thing, offering them, you know, books and things that a lot of the parents can't read. And so trying to get the older kids to even teach parents some reading skills. So trying to get it to be sustainable in that way too. So that
It's a
word
very
is
whole
all encompassing.
Yeah, a whole system
Yeah,
approach.
yeah.
That's
That was a long answer.
no, that's really insightful. I loved it. It started very modest. It sounds like they were being taught under tarps.
Right. And so then when they said, you know, the school's going to close or you can have it. And we were like, okay, well.
Okay, what does that mean? How did that happen?
Well,
what did that
they
mean?
had some funding from an organization in Miami that ran out of funding. And so that was it, that they were just going to close the school. And so they said, you can either help us or we're shutting it down. And we just said, well, we'll give this our best shot. This was the second year we were there.
Oh, wow.
And so we got enough to support the first year, and then it's amazing how lovely people have been to this and supportive, and we've just been able to continue to grow with it. But that's been an interesting work in progress, because that was something we didn't anticipate at all,
Yeah.
that they were going to say, here you go. And so our first actual classrooms were a wonderful donation from Northern Iowa, which are Suka silos. And the Suka manufacturing company builds grain silos.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
then they started building what they call these safety homes, which are just like 2-story silos that are intended to be either, they've used them for homes, for hospitals, multiple things in disaster areas.
Okay.
The nice thing about them is they're round and they tend to be hurricane proof, so that they're really stable. And so that's how we started with building classrooms. So, and then we built some rooms that are a mixture of corrugated metal and concrete. So there's a mix of classrooms, but now it's not just, sticks and tarps.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive transformation. And you mentioned having land.
Yes. We originally we were given the opportunity to use land next to the church in town.
Okay.
And they decided to recoup that. So we thought, you know what, we need to make this all our own, and purchased a piece of land. And what we would like to do now is some of the classrooms have been have had common walls, and that has not been great for education. The noise factor of hearing other teachers, other students, and so we are now looking to create more individual classroom settings so that it improves the learning style, and then build on this piece of land does, as I mentioned before, give us the opportunity to look at things like chicken farming, maybe tilapia. There are tilapia farms that we have looked at, and raising some of our own food.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you've been there to visit.
Right.
Give us a picture of what it's like there, the landscape and the size of the town, and how people operate in general, like just their daily lives.
Daily life is pretty amazingly remote. It's very hilly. We're about, like I mentioned, 5 hours outside of Port-au-Prince, which is 100 miles. So you can get an idea that it's very, very dire getting, the travel is.
Got it.
And so it's very hilly, very rocky. And it's not really dirt. It's hard to imagine that anything grows here, but they do get some corn and other trees to grow. But it's really tough land to farm, but it's spread out. When you think of a village, it really only comes together a couple times a week to create a market. Otherwise, the village kind of disappears into the farmland.
Got it.
And so it's very spread out, very poor. I tell a story that one time we were walking back from the school, and there was a woman with a very oversized mortar and pestle, and she was beating something in the hollow of a tree. And Jonelle happened to show me. I said, what is she doing? He said, she's grinding corn. And I said, oh, I want to try that. And so he got the woman to hand me the pestle, and it was this basically giant stick, and I started grinding this corn. And he finally said, okay, you're going to have to stop. She's got to get that. That's her dinner. And I was going too slow. And so it is really remote and really third world. That's not a very kind phrase, but really it is desolate. And so that's another reason we try to offer a meal with school to make sure the kids have something every day. But it's as remote as you might picture in your mind.
Yeah. So I would imagine logistics are pretty interesting too. How do you go about getting things done from Iowa?
We have, and that is where the Vilmael family and a local connection comes into huge play. They have family both in Port-au-Prince and La Biche, so when we need to, we can send things to Port-au-Prince that they can go to the port and pick up and then transport for us. Or we have relationships now in La Biche where we can reach out and have them, do things for us that might need to be done. But without those connections, and that's been built up over time. And I think that's where the trust factor comes in. And that, I think, got ramped up faster than it would have normally because we had the family connection. Otherwise, we would have been these outsiders that they would not have trusted. And so we've been very lucky in that regard.
Have you found other organizations to look to as peers?
Yes. Talk with a lot of other people doing work in Haiti. When you leave Haiti, that you're coming back on a flight almost with 100% people who have been there to volunteer. Right. And so have, had discussions with people like that. Talk to people from Meals from the Heartland as to, talking about feeding people and that type of thing. And then looking at groups here locally and that work with children, and modeling some of that as how best to be inclusive from a standpoint of getting the community, families, parents involved. And so, we've really tried to reach out to other groups, and that's a beautiful part of charitable work, is that everybody's pretty willing to share and help each other, and that's great.
Yeah, that's great. So this might relate to the previous question, but how does school get done? It says on your website that it is ruled by like a social governance, the organization in the school. Tell me a little bit about that, because I'm not that familiar with the term social governance.
Well, what we do is try to be a part of the school system with them in place, with the teachers and staff in place. We have, over time, found some wonderful teachers, and that has, there's been some that we've had to let go for lack of performance, but we now have this core group that really believes in our mission, believes in the inclusivity of incorporating parents, the community, and so we really turn to them for best practices there. What we think are best practices are great here, but don't always translate there. And so we try to make sure that we're reaching the standards we'd like to see, but also make sure that those are compatible with the educational system there.
And relevant to them
right.
and where they're at. That's really interesting. So your annual budget is pretty modest. Tell us a bit, just give us an overview of what goes into your budget, because I'm assuming that this is a volunteer board.
It is, and all 100% of the money goes to the project. And it is a small budget. Amazingly, this is where the differences in society really show up. Our teachers get paid, there's a scale, but anywhere from $75 to about $110 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that is the different, the market difference in worlds, because it's a whole different world there, and their economy is. I've said multiple times that it's a Harvard-level study of how their economy functions, because I'm not sure I understand. Because there are some things that are U.S. prices, but they make Haitian, salaries, and so don't really understand how they survive with that. But we pay the going, we're competitive with what we do for salaries. We try to do some added things for our teachers, enrichment type things. We pay them through the summer, those types of things. But that's where you're surprised at, how you can budget on a smaller budget, because just the rate of expenditure is much lower.
Yeah, so you're. I've noticed that you are growing. You purchase land. You have hopes to impact more children. Tell us about that, like the growth of it so far and where it's heading.
Sure. We started with about 50 children. We now have close to 200 in the pre-K through sixth grades, and then we have our graduate students as well. What we would like to do is make sure that any high school graduate that wants to go on to extended learning, whether that's trade school or college, we have the opportunity to support them. We would love to be a bigger impact in the community, through gardens or through educational opportunities for adults. And so looking to expand in those regards, we, as I mentioned before, would love to build individual classrooms that really support
Better learning.
better learning, better
Yeah.
sound control. And then we would like to make it a place where we can enhance the community in other ways. How can we get these kids, some of these kids back, kind of have it circle back so that they're, come back to their community to do some good. And so, looking at opportunities in that regard as well. But yeah, we keep trying to have a positive impact on the community.
That's so cool. I just love this story. Tell us about your board of directors. Are all the founders still involved?
No, we've had a couple founders leave, so now instead of the 6 of us, we're 4 degrees of separation, we're 4. But when a couple had to leave the group, we decided we need to expand to a board, and each one of us picked somebody we thought would be impactful. And we have been amazingly lucky in that regard. We encourage people that, we would love to have you stay on the board, for a couple, maybe 3 years, and we would rotate people on and off. With the exception of people who change jobs, we haven't had people leave the board. Mm-hmm. They're just wonderfully willing to stay. And so that has been great. And the diversity of the board is wonderful. We have some younger gentlemen. We have people my age, which I like to say is not old, but somewhere in midlife, and in everything in between, and different talents.
Yeah.
From artistic to financial input, we've just got this great mix of people who really are just all in, and that is that's something that gets me very verklempt. But pretty lovely.
That's excellent, especially for the continuity of the
Exactly.
organization
Yep.
and really making it sustainable, like you say. So moving. How can people help out 6 Degrees of Separation?
Well, once a year we do what is a fundraiser / thank you party, and that will be, this year it will be May 2nd, and it is at a wonderful place called Main Built, which is a kitchen display space where it's just, you get to see all the beautiful current things in kitchen design, but it's also a beautiful setup to have a party, and a wonderful friend donates that space for us.
That's such an interesting location.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it, and what a great idea.
Yeah, and it's just to the west of Willis, Cadillac.
Okay.
And it's just beautiful space, and that makes it fun to be able to mingle and, talk to people. We have some Haitians have come to Des Moines through the initiative a couple years ago due to disasters, mm-hmm. and they are able to talk with guests, that kind of thing, and we give them an annual update of what's going on. It's a lovely party, and anybody's welcome to stop in and see that. We're always looking for that kind of support, financial support to help the endeavors, those types of things.
Yeah. So have you been back since the upheaval?
No, just because of the safety concerns.
Wow.
And so, that is, I didn't mention, that's another thing we're looking at. We have, you never know what you're going to get until you ask. And I asked a company out of California for solar panels, explaining our situation. And I said, could you help us at all with cost of those? And they said, we would gladly send them to you. So donated solar panels to us. And so the idea behind the solar panels is that then we can get something like Starlink service where we can have better interaction with the kids on a routine basis. We have computers that they use basically like typewriters right now, but then we could hook them up, get them on the internet, and have wonderful experiences.
The connectivity.
Of, in engaging both with teachers and students. And so that will be coming down the road, hopefully very soon, so that that expands their learning and our interaction with them, especially in this time when things are not in a position for us to travel there.
Yeah, I bet that's hard.
Yeah.
And I bet it's hard for them to feel even more isolated, right?
Absolutely. And there are a lot of safety measures in place.
Yeah.
A gentleman in Port-au-Prince who works for us, we sent him the money to pay salaries, and then he takes his life at risk to bag up that money, get on the back of a motorcycle, and make the trip. And we're just grateful every time that the teachers get paid, that he stays safe. Yeah, it's a different scenario, and hopefully they can get that in under better control so that we can go back live and in person.
And it must be so fulfilling to know that you're having real tangible impact on these kids' lives. It's a direct contrast of how it started and what you thought you were going to do.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. And we just have gotten so lucky. And the Haitian people are just beautiful. The thing that surprises me or stuns me the most is how joyful they are in the midst of the world they live. And one of our very first 6th grade graduates, this little girl who had more spunk than anything, they had a little graduation ceremony, and she got up in her sparkly blue skirt and told the audience that 6 degrees changed her life. And of course, we are sobbing, but then realized this is the impact you're hoping for.
Yeah.
And so, and she's now one of the first graduates and wants to be a teacher. So it may come full circle for her.
Yay, that's so great.
So that's exciting. But just you see some of that and you think, this is why I do it. This is why I do it. Yeah.
Yep, that's very understandable. Yeah. Well, thank you again for joining us and telling the story. I think a lot of people don't know about the organization, and hopefully more people can support this great cause.
Well, thank you for having us. This is just so kind.
Yeah, thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
So those who want to help out and learn more about 6 Degrees, you can visit 6degreeshaiti.org. And to our listeners, thanks for being here. You can always listen to us on your favorite platform and on YouTube and at giveandgrowdsm.com.